Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan Nair. Here, basically, we are discussing about the 168th number formula, and we have discussed lots of things. The real scenario of the governments, basically, we can say up to what level government can go, up to what level the government can do, up to what level the government groups can do. I have taken one example of the Prabhakaran, Sri Lanka. So he was basically um, he was powerful than the um, government. He was powerful than the government. So what happens to him? That basically everybody knows. So government told either you come to my team or other well suffer whatever it's going to happen. So whatever things real picture basically what has happened that basically government groups only knows whether they have given him chief minister post, prime minister post, or they have done some other basically things basically that's basically it's a private part basically of the government group up to what level the governments are. So here we are not discussing that what is government. So here basically we are discussing that about the subscription plan which government takes and how basically the police departments, that is basically nowadays it's a virtual world. So how the cyber department, cyber industry, that is basically the cyber groups, how they handles the each and everything. So that is basically we are going to discuss just now. So first basically we will see the subscription plan basically which government takes, and the World Bank have the subscription plan which is basically created by the government, sorry, which is created by this set of groups basically that are basically mostly private group which are basically the higher than the government basically you can say. So there is certain groups also which are basically upper level than the government group. So you can just imagine the structure level basically which we are going to discuss. So here basically we are discussing about those group who basically creates the subscription plans. Yesterday we had discussed that there are set of stories which is basically created by that group which are basically doing creating the subscription plans, and which they are creating actually, not government are creating. Government is just telling that we are just purchasing the subscription plan. And here basically it's a India. So in India, how many stories are there? How many stories are created by the and story basically by default it's connected with the Bollywood groups. So Bollywood groups have how many stories in India? Sorry, it's not created, it's how many stories they have captured in India. So assume there are thousand stories of the thousand families members, sorry, thousand family member groups. So they have many stories basically you can say. Many story means this basically topic little bit we have discussed long before also, but that was not sufficient because the subscription plan basically has the, because government says that we don't know anything. We just we are not basically placing the each and every energies in the environment. We are not going, for example, one energy has to be dumped into the city so that the earthquake will not happen, or if we are dumping one energy into that assume that in Mumbai city, so that this particular level of what rain basically is going to fall. So here what I want to say is that the season basically are also setted by the subscription groups. For example, in this city, this millimeter rain has to be fall today. So that is basically planned by the subscription group basically. Subscription groups, it's not 1 or 2 day process basically. If the rain is falling today, then it's planned a long before basically, 1 or 2 month before, or 1 or 2 weeks before basically. It's not so easy also basically. And they do the verification also that this many rain 100% it's going to fall. So that's basically the subscription plan group basically they have created. For example, uh, I will take one example. For example, in Mumbai city, assume that 10 millimeter rain is going to fall today. Just assume, just assume. So the subscription plan group, I'm not taking out the government because government are just a middle basically group. They just say that yeah, with this many rains is going to fall. That's all. But the rain basically is created by certain groups, right? So, for example, I will take one example. In Mumbai, 10 millimeter rains is going to fall. Just taking as an example, uh, millimeter or meter, whatever basically. That's basically this also is created by certain groups, millimeter, meters, liter, each and everything. So here what we are not going into this all this thing. So here basically assume that 10 millimeters lane is going to fall. Just taking as an example, and 10 millimeter rains are basically going to created by certain cities. For example, there are 15,000 cities who basically are just into rain season basically. I will explain in detail. These 15,000 cities are specially created to have the rain in the certain cities. So for example, there are these 15,000 cities totally different. If within this 15,000 also, if you want to do the rain, they only create cities. So here I will take one example. There is around 15 lakh cities in this world, right? There is 15 lakh cities in this world. So this 15,000 city basically has created, they basically has created their city in that way that if they want to have a rain in this 15 lakh city, then they can easily have. So just they have to just dump the city energy, that is basically 15,000 city energy into certain cities. For example, Mumbai, in Mumbai, they need today 10 millimeter rain. So they will send the metrics to the World Bank, and the subscription plan basically according to that. Assume that we have taken, assume that Mumbai city has taken the subscription plan according to this, and today basically it is going to activate. So this 15,000 city, from which city basically they have taken this 10 millimeter rain, that basically a detailed process. So 15,000 cities are basically specially created just for raining season. Just for rainy season, this 15,000 city has been created. So there are basically 15 lakh cities. So 15 lakh cities are going to get the rain from these 15,000 cities. So we can just imagine the subscription plan basically which is created. So this subscription plan groups basically who creates each and every subscription plan for each and every countries, they basically creates according to this one. They just takes the city energies. They have already created everything. They have created the hot season cities also. If you want to set the hot season in this city or in this country, they basically take few cities the energies and just dump the data to the that cities. Basically, they don't generate the gas and send the bottle to the cities. It's not like that. They basically, but the few things basically, it's not basically fully dependent on the power companies and energy companies. So there are certain combinations. For example, if 10 millimeter rain has to be fall, then basically the combination will be like this. Power companies might be energy, connecting, energy company might be there, nuclear power company might be there, and few gas companies also might be there. Few basically the auto vehicles also might be there. So they have the, it's connect directly connected with the World Bank. So there are certain vehicles which are directly connected with the World Bank, that are basically the World Bank groups. Basically, you can say they are World Bank groups. Nobody basically knows. For example, this person is going um, in BMW. So you can't say basically who is that person, and police is stopping him and telling him, "Give me the license of yours." So basically, police does not know that he is basically, police basically might be 100% knowing, but that is basically the upper level police. He might be ordering in the walkie talkie that just check this person's driving license, and then basically the supervisor, the under group basically police inspectors basically, they just check the license, but they don't know. But the upper level person knows that this person is basically being sitting in BMW. Who is that person? So like this, basically, the lots of things happen. So here, basically, we will be taking one example. There are 3 to 4 seasons basically available in market, and one is the mix season also, you can say. So if you want to fall the rain in certain cities, then basically you have this 15,000 cities, the subscription. But the government don't know that this 15,000 city is specially created just for rainy season. This 20,000 city is just specially created for the winter season. This 35,000 city is just created for the hottest season basically. And this city is basically just created for the mix season. That is basically rain, cold, winter, and then hot season. So there are lots of and basically within the season, basically each and every energies are dumped. For example, mm, the subscription group says that if you if you want to calculate the mathematics calculation, for example, chartered accountant groups basically, right? Chartered accountant groups basically require the calculation energy, right, with them. So they require calculation energy. So calculation energy assume that they are dumping from the um, raining season, or from the winter season, or from the hot season. Just taking as an example, we can't directly tell that this is basically they are dumping the calculation, sorry, the mathematics energy from this season. So basically, even basically the subscription plan groups also will never disclose this, because it's very critical, right? So like this, the calculation plans basically are dumped to the city according to the certain seasons basically. So that is basically taken from that 20,000 cities, or 15,000 cities, or 30,000, 35,000 cities, which is already created. So there are certain cities which are basically calculating the each and every each and every basically, what do you say, each and every ideas basically, you can say ideas, or each and every brain cells basically, you can see the brain mappings data basically, you can say the blood cells data, you can say. And on the base of that basically the uh, things are basically happening. So here basically we were discussing about the earthquakes, how earthquakes basically comes. So just now basically whatever things we have discussed, that is basically, if I say that that is connected with the set of user stories, then it would not be 100%, that then it would be 100% correct, right? Because what is story? Story means you can say there are a set of romantic stories, there are a set of emotional stories, there are a set of bad stories, there are a set of violence stories, there are a set of uh, there are a set of mixed story basically in one day basically happens in the, basically we have taken the example of 1,000 family members and the groups. They basically are the base. On the base of that basically, the user stories of India is getting created, right? So user stories of the India that is getting created on the base of thousand family members, right? So like this, basically, if I say, for example, I will say that my laptop is connected with 15 nuclear plant, 35 energy companies, and 100 power companies, then it would be 100% correct. Yeah, it would be 100% correct. Because why? Because it's getting the effect, and the calculation also has happened just now. So basically, what I want to say is that the each and every supplies basically which you get, the energy which you get, the data which you get from the nuclear power company, that all are basically connected with the subscription plan, which is already taken by the government, which are basically sitting in the parliament house, and they decides basically which type of subscription plan has to be sent to this city today. So you can say that weekly subscription plan also they sets monthly, they sets daily subscription plan. So this basically the uh, chief minister, prime minister, president, they don't do. They are just representing the country, but they are basically connected with the practical things also, because practical things administration department they just do the planning. But nowadays, basically, if you send any practical data to the administration department and that data is wrongly sent, then basically they easily tracks. Why? Because the practical things which is happened to that city, that energy is already taken by the government, by the administration department. So if you say, if you submit the light reports, then also that gets tracked easily. So administration department basically do the subscription plans of the cities, that this is the subscription plan which is taken from for this 1 lakh cities of this particular country. So here basically I'm taking just example of mm, India country. There are basically assume that there are 1 lakh cities in India, just taking an as an example, but in real basically there are many cities. So this 1 lakh cities subscription plan has taken that they have sent the data to the World Bank, that this many buildings exist in this in this 1 lakh city. This many gardens are there. This many roads are there. This many uh, internet towers are there. This many mobile towers are there. This many computers towers are there. So lots of people says that computer has tower. Yeah, basically the computer which is getting on, that is basically not only getting on the base of the certain powers. There are certain towers which are basically settled in each and every country. So that is basically very critical, because why it's settled, because I basically every time tell this, that if your computer is not connected with the internet, that does not means that your computer is not connected with the world. It's connected. Why? Because of that tower basically. That tower is basically exist in any of the city of the country, in the country. So each and every country have one or two towers which are basically connected with each and every computers in this country. For example, in India, there are 35 crore computers and around 1 crore laptops. So this and around 100 crore mobiles. So this each and everything basically, each and every, and iPad is there, then T-pad is there, and many pads are there basically. Whatever things basically, and this gets calculated to around for three, 30, sorry, 35,000, no, three, around 350 crore. Assume that it's the calculation is 350 crore. So these 350 crores data are basically captured by that tower basically. That is basically one tower. In each and every country, basically one or two towers are there, and that are basically directly connected with the satellites groups, or it might be connected with set of other tower. So like this, basically each and every computers are connected with the towers. So here basically that was different topic. Here basically we are talking about the subscription plans, which is basically taken by the government, and that is basically taken by the administration department of the government, because each and every stuff basically happens in city. That is basically subscription plans that are basically taken from the admin department by the World Bank groups. So basically, admin departments handles the each and every stuff, and in this basically the software departments are there, computer departments are there, hardware departments are there, each and every accounts departments are there. So each and every departments are there basically. The professional group basically we can say, and like this they take the subscription, and in detail subscription basically we have already discussed the thing basically. So here basically we are discussing about the 1,000 family stories which basically are connected with the earthquakes, right? So assume that if and this 1,000 stories are basically divided into 3 or 4 parts, and around 350 family members are connected with not earthquake story. Means whenever their people's story comes into the environment, that time basically the earthquake will not happen in the entire country. If that 250 family members story comes into the environment, then basically earthquake happens. Like this, the thousand cities are divided by the certain groups that are basically the admin groups who has sent the story of certain groups. So like this, the stories are connected directly with the earthquakes, and like this, basically the energies basically are created by the subscription plan groups that are basically by default. Accountant don't do the energy level plans, right? That is basically by default planned by the nuclear power plant groups. They basically do each and every plans in the cities, basically, right? Sorry, in the for the cities basically. You can say. So 1 lakh cities is in India. So the nuclear power plant groups basically are doing the uh, creating the subscription data, and on the basis of subscription data, the city's environment is getting handled. That is by default basically, right? And this is basically each and every government normal basically. Pune also knows that the subscription plan basically. Uh, Pune basically also knows that subscription plan has taken by the government, and subscription plan has taken by, but government means they have done the subscription because their budget is up to that level. So the subscription plan has taken, and according to the subscription plan, the set of things happens in the cities that you can. That's basically by default basically, and it's not only in India. The whole world basically is connected like this also. But there, the country stories are totally different because one country story does not matches to the another country story, right? So there are basically 215 countries in this world. So each and every 215 countries basically stories are different. But here basically how the stories are 215 stories basically it's very difficult to control. So what basically the groups has decided that they basically has categorized the thing that is basically religion wise, that is basically Christian, Muslims, Hindus, Hindu story, Christian story, and then the Muslim story, then Jain group story, Parsi group story. So like this the stories are segregated, and this is basically the like this the stories are segregated. And in Hindus also basically there are many castes, in Christian also there are many castes, Muslims also there are many castes. So like this the stories are segregated in like this basically you can say. So assume that World Bank has around 35,000 stories in the world, and according to the 35,000 stories in the world, they are setting the environment of the each and every world basically, each and every countries basically. So this is basically 168 number part, and in 169 basically we are going to discuss a little bit more about the subscription plans.